and you see her just run and grab the statue and just like take out her husband. This is the Awesome Matt Podcast. I'm Austin.
This is Matt.
And this week we watched Windfall. I forgot the name of it for a second there. But before we talk about that, Matt, what did you watch in our little hiatus?
So obviously our hiatus has been a little long, so I watched quite a few things. One big one was I rewatched Whiplash, which is, have you seen Whiplash?
Yes.
So
I was so shocked by it because the main actor in it, I always thought he was a douchebag. But I was like, oh man, this guy's got some chops.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And actually, I'm like bummed because I feel like I haven't seen that much from him that's been great since Whiplash. Like, he killed it in Whiplash, and he's kind of just like done some stuff here and there, and like he's never done anything quite like that. So I'm still always excited to see anything from him. So but interestingly, so I saw Whiplash when it first came out, so that was a while ago, and I came out with a very different interpretation of the movie this time.
Oh, okay.
I think when I first saw it, that ending scene, I really was like, oh yeah, Miles Teller, like, he won here. He triumphed. And then I saw it again and was like, ooh, no. He was convinced that he had done so. All part of like the manipulation of J.K. Simmons' character to get him back under control again. Like, it was rough. But even then, I was still like almost taken in by it. Like, as I'm watching, I'm like, no, I know what the ending is now. And then the ending's happening, and I'm like, yeah, no, I was right the first time. And then I was like, no, I wasn't. I really wasn't. I can't be. It's so terrible. So, great movie. I also finished Upload Season 2. Okay. Upload Season 2, if you liked the first season, you'll like the second season.
I watched half the first episode, and I was like, you know what? I'm not really feeling this. And then
of the first season or the second season?
I watched the first half of the first episode of the first season. And
okay.
No.
It's not for everyone, and I totally get it. And it's a really high concept show that does not have the kind of budget that you would need for quite that high concept of a show. So it feels a little off because of that, I think. But I was able to get into it, and I actually really enjoyed it. But I do know it's not for everyone. And even if I was like, not me trying to tell me to watch it, I don't think I would have been convinced. I don't know how it was this show pulled me in, but it's a good one. I enjoyed it. It's definitely not for everyone. And the last one I watched, and this was a while ago. Like, when I noticed that I had watched this, I was like, oh geez, that feels like forever ago. But I finally watched Night Books, which I really enjoyed. And I'm pretty sure you watched it. Like, I suggested it for the cast, and you were like, oh, I watched it last week. It's the one about the little kid who likes to write stories and gets sucked into like a witch's lair.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Okay. And you really liked it?
I did. I thought it was, I mean, it wasn't like amazing or anything, but it was so much fun. And for what it was, I was like, yes, this is great. And then I also was like the little kid who was like writing stories, in his room all the time, like, to some degree. Obviously, like, not as prolific as that kid. But I definitely was like, oh yeah, like, I kind of was that kid a little bit, and it was fun. I liked it. So it was a lot of fun. Also, I think Kristen Ritter looked awesome in it. Like, I think she's cute, and then she had all these different hair colors and these crazy outfits. I was super into it. I enjoyed it. So
okay.
But what'd you watch?
So first thing is I'm gonna talk about Moon Knight. Now, do you have? I hope you have plans to watch it. Are you gonna watch it?
I have plans to watch a lot of stuff that's on Disney Plus. I just have to kind of like get Disney Plus in the first place. So it'll happen eventually. Just, yeah.
Nice. So episode 1, I am hooked, line sinker into the show. Like, Jones in for the second episode. I don't really go back and rewatch the episodes of the Marvel series, but like, my wife and I, we watched it, we loved it. The next night we watched it again together, and still like, and like, there's kind of like some reveals that happen, so like it makes a little bit more sense as you're going through it. But I was like, yeah, like they're doing this in like what feels right. For context, Moon Knight is a very violent anti-hero, pretty much.
Okay.
So like, there's a lot of questions as to like, well, like, are they gonna censor out of like a lot of the blood or like the killings and things that he does. Like, how are they going to do this in a way that's like kids just step away? But with the merger that they had with bringing in all of the Netflix original Marvel series, which are rated at mature, there's now a setting that you can put on to Disney Plus where it's like, hey, like if you want mature, totally cool. You just got to put a password on this, and then boom, Moon Knight comes out bloody. And I was like, all right, nice. So
I'm kind of surprised. My guess. So, and I had like some debates with people when Daredevil first got taken off of Netflix. I was like, Disney's doing something with this. Charlie Cox Daredevil is not gone, and I was right. And there was multiple people were like, it's not going to happen. I was like, I don't know, man. But I was very sure because Disney owns Hulu, correct? I believe
that sounds right.
And so I'm really surprised that we didn't see Daredevil and other shows pop up on Hulu as kind of a way of Disney being like, yes, this is Disney, yes, this is Marvel, but here's kind of this more adult material elsewhere. We're going to keep Disney Plus a lot more like family friendly. So I was surprised to see that, but
yeah, I think they eventually just wanted to get it to one platform and then charge an arm and a leg for it.
that's true.
But yeah, Moon Knight, super excited, ready for what's next. Honestly, like even if it goes down to like crapshoot from here, like I'm still going to be excited for what they do next. The only Netflix Marvel character that I don't think is going to be brought over or they're going to do anything with is Danny Rand from Iron Fist. The actor just wasn't great, and it just wasn't well received as like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Daredevil and those guys. But we'll see. Disney's got a lot of stuff up their sleeves. After that, I did watch Diabolical, which is that short snap series of the boys stuff. Not worth its time, in my personal opinion. Like, yes, they are very gruesome, very dark shows, but like as a compilation, it's like C material, and the boys I hold in like really high regard, so that's probably why I look at it so critically. There is one story with Aquafina though, that does involve like a piece of poop that is actually really funny, and I would recommend that one. I think it's like episode 6. That one's fun. But outside of those things, I did finish Shameless finally. 11 seasons went through. Shocked by how much material they actually they went through. After each season, I was like, there's no way they can like really build off of this, and then boom, they do another thing. The final season, are you ever gonna watch Shameless in any capacity?
With it being 11 seasons, I probably won't touch it. That's just so much.
So for 10 seasons of the show, the dad, William H. Macy, plays Frank. He is the biggest asshole douchebag leech to this family and feels entitled the entire way through. The last season, he gets dementia and he starts losing his mind, and the feeling of just like heartbreak from seeing this man just suddenly not know like where he's at. He's lost in the streets. He doesn't know where his house is. Like,
no matter how much of a jerk he was before, it's still
still hurt. And I talked to somebody else about it who finished. They're like, yeah, like I was feeling the same way. Like I hated Frank, but like you just hate to see anybody go through this.
Yeah. Wow.
And pretty much like the ending of the show is the ending of Frank. Like Frank dies in the last episode. Okay. And there's a lot of things that they don't tie up. And at first I was a little disappointed with the ending. I was like, wow, like we don't know like who's moving on. We don't know what's going on with like the kids. Then it kind of clicked for me where it's like, you know what, like we weren't following all of these characters. We were following Frank. Because Frank's passed on, we're not gonna know the answer to these things, and like that's just kind of life. Maybe that's just me looking too much into it, but like when I looked at that point, it's like, well, I just have to hope like they have the best intentions, that things go on, and that they get out of each other's ways or whatever. So it was nice. It's fine, but currently though, I'm rewatching The Umbrella Academy with the season 3 finally coming out. I know you said like, wow, I just really watched the second season. I can't believe there's another season already. Like for me, it's like, oh man, I binged it the first night it came out. Season 3 coming out in June. Rewatching season 1. I'm actually almost done with season 1. And looking back at it, like I I really gave it like a kind of like a bad review. Like rewatching now, I'm like, you know what? Like there is definitely some good stuff in this season. It's not just the first couple episodes. Like they build upon it. Do I feel like it goes too long? Yes, that's probably its downfall. It's just a little too long. But part of the reason why I'm rewatching it though is like the end of season 2 is gonna take us back to the end of season 1. I hadn't rewatched season 1 since I binge watched it when it first came out. So it'll be nice. It'll be nice. But outside of that, the only thing I watched was Windfall. You ready to talk about it?
Not quite yet. Two things. One, I did want to say about Moon Knight. I'm a little bummed about Moon Knight because Oscar Isaac, who plays the main character in Moon Knight, also plays the voice of Spider-Man 2099 in the very end of Into the Spider-Verse. And I was still always like holding off hope that we would get some kind of non-animated Into the Spider-Verse, something where Oscar Isaac would go play himself, and Jake Johnson would play himself, and Shameik Moore would play himself, and Haley Steinfeld would play herself. But now Haley Steinfeld is Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye show, and now Oscar Isaac is Moon Knight. So I'm like, I guess that's just not what's going to happen, which is a bummer because I would have loved to see them just randomly show up somehow in later Marvel movies.
So here's the tough part with Moon Knight. Moon Knight is its own universe, and he's only signed on for the 1 season.
I've heard that, but I'm willing to bet, since this is doing so well, Disney will offer him a very large pile of cash, and he will and he will be willing to do more, whether it just be another season or show up in the movies somewhere. I mean, he is A-list star.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we saw you die in Dune. Do you want more?
Yeah.
You have more.
So, and the other thing is, and if you don't want to talk about this, we don't have to talk about it, but it is a movie podcast, and something really big happened where one grown man slapped another grown man on live TV in front of millions of people. Do you want to talk about it?
No, but
okay.
I do want to talk about how Riz Ahmed won an Oscar for Sound of Metal.
He didn't win for Sound of Metal, did he?
I thought it was Sound of Metal.
I think that was last year.
Maybe. Hold on. I just know he won an Oscar.
I feel like he did because I remember turning to my wife and I was like, I love him. Was it for Sound of Metal?
Ahmed.
It doesn't feel like Sound of Metal came out last year, but maybe it did.
Oh, for The Long Goodbye. Wow, I haven't even seen the movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. But I do, and I think I remember him winning and turning to my wife and being like, I'm so glad that he got this. Like, he deserved that so much. He's so awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, yeah, we don't have to talk about the slap heard around the world, as people call it, which is the stupidest name for it ever.
No, it's all stupid. It's if there is a take that I would like to share to it, it is Jim Carrey's take, where it's like, you know what, like people go there to have their pedestal, and it was taken away from everybody else at that show. And I feel the same way. Yeah. And whatever happens to, like, Will Smith owns that face where when he cries, like it like makes me tear up, kind of thing. And I'm happy for things that he's done, but like it's not cool. And we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like he's really going to suffer any kind of like real damage to his career. Will Smith is going to make some other movie in a year or two and everyone's going to love it and nobody's going to even remember that this happened. So, okay. We will no longer talk about it. No, we will no longer speak of it.
Yep.
Let's go.
More than likely, it's funny that you bring it up. It's like the people who are probably going to boycott his next movie probably weren't watching his movies in the first place.
That's true. That's true.
Cool. So Windfall. A man breaks into a tech billionaire's empty vacation home, but things go sideways when the arrogant mogul and his wife arrive on a last-minute getaway. Matt, you told me you really liked this movie, so I'm intrigued. What did you like about it?
I didn't say I really liked it. I liked it.
Messaged me and you said, I like this movie. We can do it if you want.
I really liked it. I said I liked it.
My
There's
apologies.
a difference.
Okay, cool. What do you got?
Yeah, I like this movie. I think this is the type of stuff that I really do love to see on Netflix. Like stuff that is this small, but like has some cool talent in it. Like Jesse Plemons, we saw him in Power of the Dog. Like, happy to see him again.
Do you know who his wife is?
Yeah, Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah,
The
dude.
lady that he was with in Power of the Dog.
Yeah.
This is how I knew that. Because, have you watched Black Mirror?
No.
So there's an episode, and it's the best. If you're going to watch one episode of Black Mirror, the very best episode is this Star Trek episode where Jesse Plemons plays kind of a tech mogul, but not necessarily a mogul. He's a video game developer, and he's developed these video games that are kind of like these VR experiences. And at home, he has his own little like self-contained VR experience where he's like a Star Trek captain, and he's like the coolest guy in the room, kind of like he's much cooler than he actually is in real life. And what is it he does? He either murders people, or he does something. He does something where he like downloads people's consciousnesses and puts them in this game, and then they're kind of like stuck there, and they kind of have to like play to all of his whims, or like take his wrath, you know. And so, but and that's a long way of just saying there's a blink and you miss it cameo from Kirsten Dunst where he's just walking somewhere and you see her for like literally a second and a half in the shot. And it was just because she was his wife and she was there that day, and they were like, hey, do you want to be in it for like a second for fun? And they just did it. So I've always known that she was his wife. Yeah. So yeah, happy to see Jesse Plemons, Jason Segel. I think her name's Lily Collins. I'm not sure I've seen anything with her in it. I know she's like the Emily in Paris girl, which from what I've heard of Emily in Paris, I think I would absolutely detest it, but I don't know.
Oh, well, you would love it, Matt.
Oh, really?
Just kidding.
I was like, what? Sarcasm. Okay. But one thing I really liked was the music. It was just like so weird and kind of felt out of place and almost like silly at times that I was like, okay, like it didn't fit so much that I was like, I'm enjoying the fact this is not fitting and it feels weird. Like I just liked it for some reason. I enjoyed how small it was, kind of like I mentioned, like this is the movies I like to see on Netflix where it's like, hey, like someone like was like, hey, let's like film a movie and it'll take us like 2 weeks and we'll just all film it in this house and be done with it, you know? Like it just worked. I thought it was cool. So I'm really interested in what this movie's getting at, and I don't know what it's getting at. And that's what I think is like fun about it, is like there's a huge conversation to be had where it's like, okay, here's like two white dudes who are like super pissed at each other because of like their privileged situations. And while one of them is incredibly privileged, the other one is still also probably privileged to like a degree. Like you never learn his story, but it's like, yeah, you're still just like a white dude who could go find a decent job somewhere, and you obviously work for this guy somewhere, so you have skills. Like it's not like you have to rob him for your livelihood. You're robbing him because you hate him. And so here's these like two dudes who just hate each other for their class and where they stand in society for totally different reasons. And then here comes like this person who's a minority who is working for the guy. And I don't want to say too much about that because I might say something really stupid and put my foot in my mouth, but it's like he has some kind of importance there that he is there, and he's the one who just like dies in the most awful possible way. And it's just like that didn't need to happen to him, and it did, and it was interesting. And then the fact that there's a woman here who like things go super duper crazy where she just like totally loses it and kills both of the privileged white dudes, and like there's stuff going on here that is probably like a little bit beyond me, but I still find interesting. And so I enjoy like kind of whatever point it's getting at least the conversation that can be had around that. And I don't even want to say like, oh, this is the point it was making. Oh, this is like the statement it was making. It's just like, oh, here's a movie where like three privileged white people do a bunch of stupid stuff because of money. And it's just interesting. So that's kind of what I liked about it. What did you like about it?
It felt very practical to me, where it's like if there was somebody who has never done like the movie starts with him just like eating an orange, walking around, just like getting a feel for the place, and then you find out later on that's like I wanted to know what it felt like to be you. So like you kind of go back to the moment. It's like, yeah, like he's imagining like this is my home, this is the things I do, this is what I have, and like Like, what would you do in your day if you had like Jeff Bezos multi-billion-dollar like yacht? It's like, yeah, like I'd probably just, you know, do casual stuff, see what's there. But then, yeah, it gets turned sideways real quick when people actually show up. And he doesn't know what he's doing. He's like, you know what, like we're gonna have you just go, and I'm gonna lock you in the sauna, but not like lock you in. I'm just gonna like barricade it a little bit, so it's gonna take you some time so I can like run away. But then like there's also that very practical moment where like you realize like he knows he's screwed when he sees the camera, and that's like, whoa, like, what do you do about that? So I did like the kind of like the nothing seemed like it was professionally done. Like he had a plan at any point. It was like, well, I guess if we have to wait for tomorrow, like we'll sleep here and da 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 da, and kind of go from there. So there's a lot of that practical touch to it, which is nice. And I also was a pretty big fan of like there wasn't like a hero moment. Like nobody came to the rescue. It wasn't like suddenly like the cops showed up and it's like, haha, like I called the cops with like this phone that I had hidden into this wall. Like no, like there was none of that. It stayed true to like just like the 4 actors that you saw the entire time, and it was just like it felt like life. But that's really all I did enjoy with this movie, and I got some things to talk about afterwards. But Matt, what was kind of your downsides?
The point again that I mentioned before, like I don't know what this is getting at, and if it is trying to get at something that I'm not necessarily like super, I mean, like it's really trying to get at something that's like kind of preachy. I'm like, okay, come on, whatever. So like I don't know, like it's such the upside that I'm like, oh, there's kind of a point to this. I don't know what it is. There's also a downside of like maybe the point is like more annoying than I would think. I don't know. There wasn't really any comic relief. Like here's like Jason Segel, who is a funny dude, and Jesse Plemons, he seems like he would have that capacity for sure. They could have had a little more fun. And I'm not saying like, oh yeah, like let's get along because we're two people who hate each other, but like there could have been some comedy here that would have been fun and interesting, and they missed their mark there, which does kind of, I like maybe they did probably take themselves like way too seriously in this movie too. Like, hey, why not have a little bit of fun? Like it doesn't have to be a full-on comedy, but like throw a few jokes here and like have something funny happen. And maybe there's some funny parts that I'm forgetting, but it was, yeah, it played it very straight-faced the whole time.
There's only one funny moment to me in this entire movie.
Which was?
That's when she tells him what her tattoo was. It was a rose. And I liked it. And he's like, I don't fucking care. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought that was good. I put not that shocking, and I'm trying to think about what I even meant by that. I think... Oh yeah, I do. I think it was supposed to be shocking. I think it was like, oh my gosh, she hit him over the head with this, and he's gone, and now she just decided to like shoot this guy, and he's gone. And I was just like as it was happening, I was like, yeah, she's gonna go there, and she's gonna shoot him. Like it was just like I was not surprised at all, and I'm not saying like something really shocking should have happened, but it just was so expected, I guess, for me. Like. I think they could have gone some interesting different directions that I think I would have liked more. I just don't know what those would be. But
do you know what would have been like a really shocking moment?
What?
If the scene where he's like walking out of the house and he goes to tie his shoe, they have the scene that's like from outside looking into the house from that doorway, and you see her just run and grab the statue and just like take out her husband and just be like, what? I was scared that like she was gonna full on end up with Jason Segel in the end, and I was gonna be like, oh, so stupid. One thing I did think maybe was the case was like it had all been orchestrated from the beginning by her and him. I was suspecting that was a possibility, which I also would have hated. so I'm glad they didn't go there. But then there was a point where Jason Segel said we are so close, and the way he said we made me think maybe he was like, me and her are so close, you know. But that was not the case. Thank goodness. Like that would have been a freaking terrible ending if either of those things had happened. So yeah. What missed the mark for you on this? It's very stale. Like
yeah.
You kind of called it out. Like there's like you have the potential of what could be like some comedic relief or like some kind of moments, but like it's stale. And I was really for the music at the beginning where it's like, yeah, like this makes me think that this is like a 60s like movie where we have like the bassoon playing on like a little too loud in the back, and it's like just making it feel a little eerie. And then it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And I'm like, man, like, are we gonna do anything? And even the moment where like the gardener pretty much takes himself into the door, I was like, all right, well, now we got a dead body. What are we gonna do now? Like, it was still just very stale. Like, I would imagine if that moment happens, there would definitely be like some more yelling and like some more people freaking out.
Yeah.
But no, it's like he just took himself into the door, and they're just like, well, let's sit next to a dead body, I guess.
Yeah.
So music made it feel very stale. Everything else was very stale. It could have had some other like twists and turns and things like that, as you kind of mentioned. It did seem a little bit like the kidnapper and the girl kind of knew each other a little bit, and because like there's that scene where like he sees her and he's like, shh, and then next thing you know, like the guy comes around the corner and he has her like holding her, and it's like, no, like let's do this like a hostage situation. And like, okay, but no, that wasn't the case at all. And my biggest, I guess the biggest bumming feeling that I have out of this is like there's not a moment where I can just be like, yes, you should watch this movie because of this. It just completely falls off. Yeah. So am I bummed that I watch it? A little bit, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this like if I was to rank the movies that we've talked about over a year, like this would be towards like the tail end section where I'm like, I was like, there wasn't even anything like odd about it. Like maybe like an alien attack happens or something, like throw something weird in there. You have such a boring ass movie. But no.
I want to see who directed it. I wonder if like he's actually
surprising. Yeah, he's
actually
done
is a cool director.
Yeah. He's done jeez. I saw like a thing about it where it's like he directed this and this.
He did a movie called The One I Love, which I still actually haven't seen, but I've heard is awesome, and I need to see it. He did The Discovery, which was also a Netflix original with Jason Segel in it. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
I actually like that movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
He did an episode of Tales from the Loop, which is like one of my favorite shows that I've ever seen on Netflix, Amazon, excuse me. If you haven't seen Tales from the Loop, it's actually like way good. Huh. Yeah, he actually is a cool director. That like bums me out more too, because this movie was not that great.
No.
Now that we're like really talking about it, I'm like, man, like this movie could have done some cooler and more interesting things here. So
yeah.
Huh. Well, cool. We'll get a good one next week, Austin.
Heck maybe. Yeah. What is it? The Bubble?
The Bubble.
Yes. The Bubble. Nice. Part of me is also hoping that it's like a shitty movie. So we're like, man, like 2 in a row. How did we do this?
I think it might be. I think it could be shitty. So.
Well, it's all right. It happens. I know eventually in our future we'll have a good movie. So that's okay.
Yes. Okay. Have fun.
Bye, friends. LA.
Bye. LA.